Welcome back to another video. So here we have a 2008 BMW 328i, which is a beautiful vehicle. Customer takes pretty good care of it. You can see the paint's still pretty good. You can see the headlights are pretty bad. We're also going to be doing the fog lights. They're pretty oxidized. These ones are probably not going to come out that great because there's a lot of micro cracking on there, or kind of internal haze, but this side, same thing. Just a little bit of micro cracking right there. You can kind of sort of see it, but we'll start with the 400, finish with the 600 before applying the clear coat, and we should get a pretty good result out of it. So let's do it. Hello everyone, Brad here with StartWithStrongHeadlights.com, and welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So today's video is going to be all about yard signs. I had two different people reach out to me asking me advice on yard signs, and I'm so glad that they did, because yard signs are expensive, and if they're not designed correctly, you're going to be wasting a lot of money. And I want to go over some things that I did, or mistakes that I did when I first started out with the yard signs, and hopefully save you guys some money and save you some headache and get you more business. So first thing I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to doing yard signs is obviously where to source them. You have to be careful, because whenever I first started, I tried a few different sources trying to save money, and I realized that the yard signs themselves, the thickness of them makes a big difference. It wasn't until after I put out a bunch of yard signs that I realized that if the yard signs are too thin, they're going to be very flimsy. They're going to kind of fold in the wind. And the last thing you want is to go out and put a bunch of yard signs just to find out that they are completely useless. If they fall over or something because they can't withstand the wind or the elements, then you pretty much just wasted your money. So make sure that you guys do source them at a reputable spot. Again, I use signsonthecheap.com, which I do have a link in the description if you guys want to go check them out. After doing multiple tests, multiple different sources, those guys are not only the cheapest, but they do have pretty sturdy or good quality yard signs. Because the sources that I was getting locally, I was paying about $25 a yard sign, and the signs on the cheap website are only $3.25 at the time of me making this video. So those are the guys that I'm always going to use from now on. That covers the sourcing aspect of using yard signs. Next, we're going to talk about the design. And I know what some of you might be thinking, is it really that big of a deal? And I could say yes, 100%. It is a huge deal on how you have your yard signs designed. As I can say firsthand, I wasted a lot of money on my first design because I wasn't getting a very good return. And I honestly thought it was the yard sign aspect. I'm like, all right, I guess yard signs don't work. And I kind of gave up for a little bit until I went back and changed the design of the yard sign, and that's when I got a really big boost in business. So now that we talked about where to find decent yard signs and the things to look out for as far as sourcing, let's talk about the colors. On my second design, I did a yellow background and I did white font, and it wasn't until after I ordered them and I put them out that I realized that whenever the sun is glaring on the yard sign, it's very easy to completely miss the font. So make sure that you have a very big difference in color when it comes to the font itself. For example, we have a yellow background and black bold font, and it's very, very easy to spot even from a distance. And I also see a lot of yard signs that have very thin font. Make sure that you guys have very bold, thick font so that you can read exactly what it is that you do and what you're offering. So also some things to take into consideration is what content you have on the yard sign. My very first design, I had a background picture, I had different pictures of before and afters I had done for headlight restoration, I had the social media icons. You have to make the assumption that when somebody's driving by the sign, they're just going to take a quick glance. So you have to say, okay, what information can I put on this yard sign that they could still find me if they're just taking a quick glance? So here's an example of a yard sign that we actually have. I just changed out everything. You can see on the top, you got the business name. That's the first thing you want to put on there, because as I said, if they are driving by and they take a quick glance, they get your business name. They can go home and Google it and type in your business name and you'll come up. I have bold font, headlight restoration, that shows exactly what we do. So worst case scenario, somebody will see business name and they'll see headlight restoration, so they know, okay, this business does headlight restoration. I got the price on there. I have the warranty that'll give a little bit of information, and the contact number. Having the price on there does help with tire kickers, because whenever they see the sign, they can see the price and they can decide if that is an amount that they want to spend on the service, the headlight restoration or the detailing, if you are in detailing watching this video. So that's one thing to take into consideration. It can reduce tire kickers, because I do get a lot of calls, a lot of text, inquiries asking about the price, and the minute they hear it, they just ghost me, which is expected. There's no marketing or advertising plan where you're not going to get that kind of customer or that kind of tire kicker. So the goal is to just reduce that as much as you possibly can. So next we're going to talk about placement, which is super important. And one rule that I always live by is it's better to put a yard sign in a low volume area or a low traffic area. That way it'll be out for a super long time rather than a high traffic area where it's only going to be out for a day or two. Because your goal with yard signs is to try to get them to stay out as long as you possibly can without them being removed by the city. And you do have to check your city or state website and see what the regulations are, because sometimes they're illegal, or sometimes there's certain spots you can put them and some you can't. They could also be called snipe signs. I've seen that on a few websites before, so definitely keep that in mind and do your research before ordering your yard signs, because you definitely don't want to waste any of your money on the yard signs. Whenever I first started, I went out and put maybe 50 different yard signs out, and maybe the following day half of them were gone, and I was like, what the heck, what happened to them? And it was actually maybe like 3 weeks later I had saw one of the city officials taking some of the signs out. They weren't even my signs that they were removing. They were just some yard signs on an intersection. So that's when I was like, okay, yeah, you definitely not allowed to put them out in popular intersections and things like that. But again, definitely do your research and check with your state website and see what the rules are. And another thing you want to look into is actually stapling your yard signs on the phone poles. I did that for quite a bit of time until I got a few phone calls from the city, and they just left messages. They called from a private number. First 2 times they're like, hey, you can't do this, you need to remove them. And then the 3rd time they were like, hey, like, you're gonna get fined if you keep doing this, you need to go out and remove them. So definitely I wouldn't recommend. I mean, you, again, entirely up to you. I personally would not anymore, because again, I don't want to get fined or anything, but you just got to check your state laws or whatever. So now let's talk about the landscape on where you're placing your yard signs. As I said, I would recommend putting them on intersections. Just try to go where people kind of stop, like any back roads or anywhere that routes people would take, like shortcuts, where there's a stop sign so they can read them a little bit. And also keep an eye on the grass. So if the grass is a little bit taller, obviously that means that it's going to be mowed soon, and usually the people or the lawn maintenance are going to throw the yard signs out because they don't want to have to cut around them or anything. So don't put them in areas where the grass is getting kind of high, because they're bound to get thrown out. And try to put them on areas where there's gravel or mulch, something where people typically don't maintain or don't have to worry about. I also look for spots that are kind of abandoned, like abandoned yards or corner stores that are abandoned, or gas stations. Those are pretty good spots. Again, you want to keep them out. Anytime you're putting a yard sign out, just think, is this a potential spot that's going to be picked up, or is this a spot where it's more than likely going to stay out for a pretty long time? Another good thing that you could do, which is actually something that we do maybe once a month, is we'll go to our local Facebook groups and we'll just ask, hey, does anybody want to support a local business? If you live close to an intersection or a high traffic area, would you consider putting a yard sign out? Which actually works a lot. Like, we get a lot of people that say, yeah, go ahead, you can put a yard sign out in front of my lawn. And some of them we actually do restorations for. Like, after we do the restoration, we can say, hey, can we put a yard sign out? Would you mind? And usually they don't. Usually they don't really care. Or you can, vice versa, you can trade. Say, hey, if I can keep a yard sign out in your yard, I could discount a service, a headlight restoration or detail, whatever it is you're doing. So definitely don't be afraid to just be honest and kind of inquire or ask around, because people will typically help local small businesses. Alright, so for this light, I'm going to start with the 600 and obviously finish with the 600. These, I didn't technically need to start with the 400. I could have got away with the 600 because it's just a very thin layer of oxidation. There's no scratches or anything, so I don't need to take off too much of the headlight to get rid of any scratches or micro cracks or anything like that. So I'm just gonna do a 600 on this one. So that's it for this video, guys. I really hope that some of this advice really helps you out when first starting, or if you are even looking to find different avenues of marketing or advertising. Because I could say that once I perfected the design for the yard sign,
I got a tremendous amount of business. Like, it really helped boost business. And it's still something that I do today. Like, I actually just went out and put yard signs maybe about 3 weeks ago. And we'll go out about 3 o'clock in the morning, put them out. That way we don't have to worry about traffic or getting hit or anything. So if you have any questions, any comments or anything, any feedback, by all means, please leave them in the comment section. And I will see you guys in the next one. Just like that, we are down to the bare headlights, so we're good to go. We can go ahead and dry it off and prep it for the clear coat. Alright, so now we're going to clear it off with the alcohol. I'm using 91%. If you can use 100%, definitely use 100%. That typically, the percentage means how much water is in the alcohol to dilute it. So if you can use 100% alcohol, that's always going to be better.